So I'm Sarah. I was diagnosed at the age of 25 with low-grade mucinous ovarian cancer. December 2019, I had a random bleed. So I didn't have the telltale signs of ovarian cancer. Mine was completely different. And then I noticed that my cycles were getting shorter. So it would be on the 27th, then it would be on the 22nd. I didn't do anything for about 2 months. And then my sister was like, just go to the doctors. So this was just before the pandemic hit. So it was the February of 2020. So I went to the doctors, and really luckily, this female doctor was like, let's just send you for a scan just to make sure it's nothing more sinister. And I was like, it won't be. I'm sure it's fine. So I went for my ultrasound, and it was just meant to be on top of my abdomen, just of my pelvis. And they were like, oh, we're just going to have to do like an internal. And the woman was just like, this is your right ovary and this is your left ovary. And I was like, well, that doesn't look the same. They sent me to the hospital, had a CA-125 blood test, and it was all normal, really low. But now I know that with mucinous, it very rarely is high. But to me, they made it sound like there was no way that it could be cancer. There was nothing that would suggest that it was cancer. So because of the pandemic, I had to wait another couple of months for an MRI, and then it had grown. So it was 10 centimeters. So I had an MRI, then it was 12 centimeters. So then they put me in for surgery. That was in, the end of July. So I had surgery to remove the cyst. So they were still convinced that it wasn't anything sinister. Woke up, I was like, was everything fine? And he was like, yeah, it all looked fine. And then 2 weeks later, I got a call. They'd sort of messed up, and they were like, a Macmillan nurse is going to call you. And I was like, what do you mean a Macmillan nurse is going to call me? And then obviously, because we were in the middle of the pandemic, no one was allowed into hospital. So even people that were pregnant weren't allowed the partners in hospital. So I was diagnosed, and then I had to have staging surgery. So I was lucky in a sense that it was stage 1. But with mucinous tumours, they get really big. A lot of them split as you take them out. So I was diagnosed 1C1. But the other annoying thing is you don't get that mop-up chemo because there's such a slim chance it'll work. It's almost more bad than good. So that's been hard to deal with, because if I had a different subtype, I would have had that chemo. So I have to deal with the effects of what if there's something still there. And yeah.
And what do you think in the UK or just generally are the biggest challenges for people who are diagnosed with a rare form of cancer? I think you've talked, you've highlighted some key things, but
I think it's funding. I think everyone's trying their best to do as much as they can. And because they have limited funding, they will put the money to the subtype that affects most women. But even though mucinous is 3% of women, globally or in the UK, year after year, that is a lot of women. When I was diagnosed, I knew I wanted to do this. And I was like, how am I going to make such a big change? And is it possible? We don't have any treatment options that are evidence-based for mucinous. You're not even giving us a chance.
Can you tell me your thoughts about what, say, the World Ovarian Cancer Coalition, how we can kind of support you, but what value can we add to your work and to your mission?
Yeah, I think it's just starting the conversation about mucinous ovarian cancer and other subtypes. And because charities like yours have so many relationships that I can't reach. And I think it's just starting that conversation, and how can we speak about it to the scientific community, because nothing will happen unless people get excited about it, or at least acknowledge that there's a problem, there is a gap. I think that's how we would feel most supported.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I really appreciate you making time.
No, thank you.
Also contributing to our partner meeting. That was
Oh,
brilliant.
great.
So look
It's
forward
great
to
to meet you as
continuing to
well.
work with you.
Oh,
Thanks.
thank you so much. Thank you.